I played summer ball for Cambria Heights Catholic School, Sacred Heart, and we played St. Pascal's, and we used to play with them either Saturday or Sunday. And I did okay. And the father of one of the players took a liking to me. He was the coach, and I hit the ball pretty well, a couple of home runs. And he said, "Where are you going to school?" I said, "I have no place." He said, "Stay around." He called the Monsignor at St. Leo's and talked to him. He explained everything. She said, "I'll give him a chance." That was all I needed. And I promised my parents I would study. I'll graduate in 4 years. And I promised the Monsignor that. If not, he said, "Listen, Fred, you're gone." I never messed around. For 4 years I studied. And I'm proud of that because it made me better in life, you know, because I had to get a real job after baseball, you know, Bobby. So it was a great situation, and it made me become a man a little quicker than a kid. Well, you know, my first year we didn't have a coach. We had a coach, but he was a basketball guy. And he promised us, because we had some talent coming from the Northeast. We recruited from the Northeast. And we put a bunch of guys together, and we all played well together. You know, we didn't win anything, but we played good baseball. And then the next year, he brought in a coach from Chicago, a pitching coach. And me and him never got along in the beginning. You know, he was tough on me. I guess he saw something in me that just pushed me harder and harder. And we became the best of friends. So after my junior year, we beat Florida State. Florida, they wouldn't play us again. Duke, all these guys come down to beat up on us, and he always gave me the ball, and I did okay, you know. Yeah. So that was the start of it, and the scouts started coming around. Of course, I didn't sleep the whole night. I was always wanting to be a Met. I'm going to be with Ed Kranepool. I mean, life doesn't get any better. Yeah. Well, to this day, the phone never rang. So it's one of those disappointments when the phone rang at 11 o'clock in the morning, and it was the Pittsburgh Pirates. They said, "We'd like to see a pitch." They had Howie Hake, who brought all our Dominican and Puerto Rican players in, the Clementes, the Sanguians, Rennie Stennett's of the world. He was the main scout. And him and another gentleman, George Detour, who was like the head scout, he wanted to see me pitch that night. Over in St. Francis in East Meadow. I threw about 20, 25 pitches. He said, "Come on, let's go into the car." It was like a drug deal or something, you know, what's going on here? Who are you guys, you know? And anyway, to make a long story short, he said, "We'd like to make you an offer." They gave me, at that time, a lot of money, $10,000. Yeah. And I couldn't pass it up. So, you know, I went home first with my parents. And Howie Hake was a little rough between the edges. Yeah. My poor mother, you know, a couple of F-bombs thrown, and I'm saying, "Oh, my God." He says, "I want to see you," meaning Mom wanted to see me. Yeah. He said, "I don't like that man. I don't want you going with him." I said, "Mom, we're going."
Tell me a little bit about the minor league experience.
So I signed my contract. I was on a plane the next day to Pittsfield. And that night we were leaving to go back to York, which is like a 12, 13-hour bus trip. Yeah. And about 4 o'clock in the morning, we stop at the New York Thruway. Okay, going home at 4 o'clock in the morning for a beer run. I said, "I'm in bed, guys. I don't know about you." Everybody got out of the bus, got their beer, and then we didn't get in until like 8 o'clock in the morning. So now I had no place to live. So a guy said, where are you going to stay? I said, "I have no idea." So we went to his trailer. I mean, I'm saying, "Welcome to the minor league, big leagues," you know. And I'm sitting in the trailer, and that was it. So stayed with him. He got me to the ballpark, and then the guys got together and found a place for me. But the only place, there was no condos or anything like that in York, PA. The only place that got me was a bar. On top of a bar, I think it was $5, $10 a day for a room. All I had was a room. Wow. And I'm saying, what about Reggie Jackson, all these guys in the big leagues sitting in penthouses, you know? Yeah. And it was quite an experience. And I couldn't go to bed before 2:30 because it was an old-time gin mill, and there wasn't kids in there. It was older people. Right. and they drank till 2:30 in the morning. So I had to eat something, grab a beer, and then go back to bed. And I'm saying to myself, my parents said, called me up and said, how you doing? And I was embarrassed to tell them I was on top of a bar, you know.
Talk about the perfect game. What's going through your mind as that game is progressing? At what point do you realize you have a perfect game?
Probably with an inning to go, because nobody sat on the bench. These are older guys now, you know, these guys that came back from the big leagues in the AA or AAA. And I'm here all alone, I'm looking around. And I went out there. There was a guy from the Bronx who was a very good ball player. He was the first hitter, and I was afraid of him. He was a bunter also. And Gomer Hodge was there, who made the big leagues. So I had two good guys that I had to face, and I know Hodge was a power hitter. And I thought this guy was going to bunt on me, because the next guy would have been decked. I tell you that right now. But anyway, he swung away and grounded out. And then, what's his name? I think he popped up. And that was it. So I was happy, and I was the youngest guy. I was 21 at the time, and you know, a bunch of old fossils came out to congratulate me. You know, it was a fantastic feeling. You know, and I was just so, you know, with all my high school experiences, they were not good. You know what I'm saying? And college turned that around, and it gave me the confidence to pitch to these guys.
What would you say your best pitches were? What was your repertoire as a pitcher?
Fastball and sinker. I turned the ball over pretty good. I just had natural motion turning it over. So I like to go inside. Just like hitters don't like pitchers, I never liked hitters. So I guess I had a tendency to go in a little bit. And my old expression, even when I was a pitching coach later on in life, I always used that in as part of the plate. You know, you being a hitter, you know, you probably hated me or flattened my tires a little bit, but that's okay. I got you out, you know. The next year I went to AAA. And I started out 0-4. And I was getting lit up. Don Baylor, Roger Freed, these guys were hitting bombs against me. And I said, oh, what's wrong? You know, I couldn't figure out. And Joe Brown was coming to see me up in Buffalo, the old Buffalo field where they had the movie. And I pitched that. It did okay. And we won, but I didn't pitch great. Joe Brown said, I'd like to see you. So my heart was in my throat. I didn't want to go out to Waterbury, riding the buses again, number one. And number two, I knew I was better than that. And Joe Brown said to me, Fred, I'm going to keep you here. So it took all the pressure off me. And I said, thank you, Mr. Brown. He said, I want two things. I saw you pitch last year, I seen you this year. The only difference is you didn't throw first pitch strikes. When I threw first pitch strikes, I won. After he left, I was 12-2. And I didn't get faster. I didn't get better. All I did was follow his instructions, get ahead of the hitters, and then use my sinker and all that other stuff. That's how I got called up to the big leagues. And that was the most exciting moment of my life. I was in the outfield shaking flies. And a bat boy comes out and says, Danny wants to see you. He says, you're pitching tonight, son. The game starts in a half hour. Had no idea. So I don't know. I think Doc was supposed to start that night. And
Doc Ellis?
Doc Ellis, the Doc. Great guy. And what was great about Doc, you read all the stories about him, but he gave you 1,000% out on the mound. He gave you 1,000%. And I learned a lot from Doc. And he always was good to young pitchers. So anyway, I did okay, you know, got past the first inning, and after that, it was a regular game. So.
Were you nervous?
No, I wasn't nervous. My first day of spring training with the big club, I came in, and guess who's sitting in my locker? The owner of the team. And I'm all sweated up, and I come in, and I see this gentleman with a shirt and tie on. I said, holy Christmas, you must have the wrong locker, you know. And he sat down. He knew everything about me. He knew that I took political science. I wanted to go in the FBI. After that, I changed my major over that. He knew my grades, and we sat an hour. And I never forget that, because he's the owner of the team, He put, a little bit of money into me, but he cared about who you were. And that's the way baseball was at that time.
Yeah.
I couldn't say all organizations. The Pittsburgh Pirates were a family. Years later with We Are Family with Willie Stargell, that's who they were. And to this day, they are family. My first spring training, it started raining out, and we went to a cage and to throw batting practice. And my first hitter was two hitters. I had Bill Mazeroski and Willie Stargell, Mr. Stargell. So again, I'm nervous now. I mean, there wasn't the lighting that it was, today.
Yeah.
And I threw the first couple of pitches all over the place. He said, "Don't worry about it, son. Just take it easy." So he said, "Pitch me inside." Well, God strike me dead. I knocked him down. I was petrified. I come running over and tell Mr. Sargent, "You okay?" All I had a vision was going to double Z league, never to be heard from again.
Yeah.
He said, "Don't worry about it, son." So after that workout and meeting the gentleman in the clubhouse that day, the owner of the team, there was a sign on my locker. It had my last name, number, and it had Bulldog. And that was my name. After that one day, everybody called me Bulldog.
Wow. Stargell come up with
Stargell came up with it, and he wrote it down.
Yeah.
So, little things like that. And he knew how to pat you on the butt,
Yeah.
where Clemente is a little tougher. He wouldn't take no nonsense from Mazeroski or anybody,
Yeah. Talk about Clemente. What kind of guy was he?
The only way I can describe him, and he was great to me, he was he was just terrific. He was a better person than he was a ball player. And I wound up, my locker was next to his. Oh, he had 4 or 5 lockers. I had this little nail in the corner over there. But since we were just in the back row, I got to know him really well. We became very close, and Clemente took care of me. When we were on the road, he always asked me to go to dinner with him or lunch or whatever, and never paid a penny. Steve Blast never paid a penny. These guys were so good to me. I can't explain it. It was like that I was part of the team already, and I was so thankful for that. Joe Brown came in and wanted me to go to Dominican Republic to pitch winter ball, because I pitched a lot of innings between college. I was getting tired, to be honest with you, but I'm not going to tell Mr. Brown I didn't want to go.
Right.
So I didn't want to go to Dominican either. I heard horror stories out of there. This is back in 1969. So Roberto was getting dressed or something. I was right next to him. He said, "Cambria," he said, "I'll take care of you." I said, "Yeah, this guy's a superstar, A week later, he comes in with Joe Brown and says, "Fred, you're going to Puerto Rico. Roberto's the manager." In that winter league, he would give a lot of camps, maybe 2 a week with the kids. He loved the kids. He wasn't a phony.
Yeah.
He would go in and he wanted me. He picked me out to throw batting practice to him, and he would show everybody how to hit on one knee and little things like that. And I was his guy. And when you're with somebody in that stature, I mean, him and Stargell were the same group. They were just terrific. And they were always in my corner. And it was very gratifying to know that these stars were looking out for me.
Yeah. What was the best part of Clemente's game as a ball player?
That's interesting. No one ever asked me that before. I think his attitude, because he was the leader in that team. Willie Stargell was the guy to pat you on the back, okay? He never reamed you out or anything like that, where Clemente would. He would, Bill Mazeroski didn't hustle, he would get on him for all these years. But Roberto wouldn't be afraid to touch it. He was the leader of that team. Everybody respected Roberto, and he was the man. And they know Willie was there the same way, but he was a different type of pat on the back type of guy.
Yeah.
So that was the great reason. And so the next year in '71, I was the last guy cut on that World Series team in April 1st. And you knew that the molding on that club was there. The Al Olivers, the Hebners, all these young guys were coming up, and they had great leadership. And that's how they won.
everyone talks about Clemente's throwing arm.
Oh.
Just talk about his arm strength.
We used to have outfield practice at that time, Bob, before the game. They don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And when you go and see Roberto throw, it was just breathtaking because he would throw a line drive, one hopper right to third base. Second base was not a problem. He probably had underhand because he used to go this way a lot. And he always got a good jump on the ball also. He was the best, him, Aaron. They all had the same makeup,
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing about our guys, Blas and Clemente, Stargell, and Al Oliver, class acts, and they'd always sign autographs. Hurt my arm, got moved back to A-ball, and Willie Randolph and John Candelario were on that team. I was like a coach because I already had experience. And we became very good friends. And boy, Candy was just, you'd tell he was going to be just a great pitcher. Same with Willie, great ball player. And they should have never got rid of him. I was still a Pirate fan at that time, Well, just recently Dave Parker passed away. And I got the opportunity to play with Dave. I was still going to school. I had to get certain hours because I changed my major. So I went to school during the week, and then every Saturday I used to drive down to Bradenton to play. And Dave was on that team. He was 6'5", skinny as a rail, run like a deer, hit with power. It was just a thrill watching him grow up as a ball player. And he gave me 1,000%. He ran his buns off, and he had the same arm as Roberto. They had the same mold together, and you knew he was going to be a superstar, and he was. But I seen him hit ground balls to second base, and he beat it out.
Wow, Parker?
Parker. Oh, he was skinny as a rail. I had other offers to go to different places, and when Doc came by, I was signed, sealed, and delivered. Just his presentation, very low key, just a gentleman. And then he told me who was on the team, and I knew Johnny DeViti. I knew some of the guys. It was a pleasure playing with Doc. When Doc asked me that, where you want to play, I said, well, first base or something. He said, no, you can't go to first base.
You're a major leaguer.
I didn't tell him I was a hitter. I'm a better hitter than a pitcher. Louis Russo, who was like a legend. And Louis and John DeViti were in the same category, Hall of Famers. And Louis talked to me too. So I started hitting, and then I wound up playing first base. It all started when I first met him. He got sent down to Tidewater for rehabilitation. And I was starting that night in AAA Columbus. And I guess I was in the 6th or 7th inning. I did okay, and facing the outfield, there must have been a fly to the outfield. And over here, now pinch hitting, Ed Kranepool. Well, I wouldn't want to repeat what I said. Are you kidding me? 60 feet, 6 inches away, and there's my hero. Now, he didn't know me from Adam. And that's what happened. Didn't meet him after the game or nothing until I got up with the Pirates. And after the season was over, Eddie wanted me to play on his basketball team, where they would go around to all the different high schools. When they signed this, and John, our good friend, did the picture and put us all together, it was something very special because unfortunately Eddie passed away this year. And I used to call him once a week down in Florida just to say hello, how you feeling, and just hearing that voice with Eddie, it hurt so much, and he really meant it, and he was a real hero to me because the way he treated me, that's the most important thing in baseball is the friendships, okay?
Yeah.
And when you do that after 40 or 50 years, that means something, and that's the way it's been with Eddie and Crane for all those years. So it's been really a pleasure, and I'm just happy to be part of the baseball world. Growing up as a ball player like yourself, you have heroes.
Yeah.
Man, I want to be Eddie Kranepool, and now you're the hero. We were doing a golf tournament, myself, matter of fact, that picture with Sham, myself, and Eddie. So at the end, the cocktail hour, they had question and answers up. The guy said, one more question. So from the audience, the kid, and I was right next to the guy with the microphone, and he said, I got a question for somebody, any of you guys, who would you like to play with to be on your team? I grabbed the microphone. I said, you're not going to believe this, but let me tell you the story. Okay, Sham is next to me, and then Eddie. So I'm there, and I start telling a story about, high school days when I was 0-10. And this gentleman who got to the big leagues at 17, I always want to play with Mr. Kranepool. He is my hero. I turned around and saw him. He had the biggest grin on his face. I got tested for Eddie, one of his kidney. I got accepted. I felt I owed it to Eddie because of who he was and how I respected him as a person. And the results came back that I was eligible to give him my kidney. So about a month after that, I was with Eddie and Sham. They were doing a book signing or something. And I get a report back from the doctors that I had AFib. And that's what had knocked me out. I was embarrassed to tell them that. I felt like I was chickening out. And there's two doctors. I had one doctor, and Eddie had another. I said, you got to do me a favor. I can't tell Eddie. And it really bothered me that I couldn't tell him personally, but but he knew it, and they told him. I have no regrets in baseball. I love the game. I play with great guys. No complaints. I wish my arm held up a little bit better. I lived a great life.